Good morning, challengers. Welcome along to day three. The other thing that has really blown me away, other than the engagement, is your creativity and your ingenuity. So people talking about things for setting up their facilities. They don't have lights, so they're going to use quad bikes. They're going to use the lights from the house, things like that. So just what you've managed to create and set up for your facilities. For some of you, given limited resources, is really fantastic. And I think that all your mares are in very capable hands. So well done to you. Hats off to you guys. So day two we have looked at. So you can still, if you haven't done your homework, don't stress. You can still go along and pop that on the post, and I'll still be following both day one and day two. Today on day three, we're going to look at monitoring your mare. That's something that some of you actually started talking about yesterday. It's quite a natural progression from where am I going to foal her down and where am I going to keep her to how am I going to be able to check her and how often and those things. How am I going to keep an eye on her? So what I prefer to do when it comes to trying to monitor mares leading up to foaling is what I call a multi-prong approach. So as anything with foaling, I think there's no textbook, but the more information you can gather and the more you can observe and put together and use, then I think the better picture you create for yourself. So on day one, we looked at the gestation period, which is really one of the first things that we look at in terms of predicting a mare's foaling time. What we look at when I talk about the multi-prong approach, there's five things and three of them kind of link into each other. One is pH testing. So that's the testing of the mare's milk onto different pH strips. So I'll explain that in the worksheet. If you have a look down there, there's an explanation about how pH testing works. And basically, once the milk gets to a certain point, at that point we would expect expect foaling to be quite imminent. So we do pH testing of milk. We do, a lot of you have talked about using foaling alarms, and there are a massive range of foaling alarms out there. What I've done is I've provided you some links in the PDF to some of the ones that I either rate or that I have personal experience with. I'm not recommending any above the other. I try to outline some of the pros and cons of each of them so you can make your own decision. So you'll be able to pop along there and have a look at each of the different alarms, how they work. Some of them are more expensive than others. Some of them are easier to get hold of than others. Some are better suited to larger breeders doing more. Some are better suited to smaller breeders. So you can jump along there and have a look at your alarm. But basically what an alarm does is that it tells you in some form whether your mare is lying down. So the idea is if she's lying down, you'll get an alarm sent off. You can go out and check her and see if she's foaling. I will put in a little disclaimer here that there are mares who foal with their head upright, so lying on their side but with their head upright, and there are also mares who like to foal standing up. So that's why foaling alarms alone often aren't enough to rely just on that, which fits into that whole multi-prong approach that I was talking about. Now, the other three things do link quite closely into each other. So the third thing really is daily or regular checks. So as your mare is getting closer to foaling, we're going to look at checking her more regularly. So going from, once a day, twice a day in the last month, right through to ideally every 1 to 2 hours in the very imminent pre-foaling or stage 1 labour period where the foal's starting to move into position and think about getting delivered. So those regular checks are really important. And the other two things that we're going to check fall under that umbrella of regular checks. So we're looking for behavioural changes and we're looking for physical changes. Often the first physical changes and sometimes the most obvious and easy to gauge ones that we're going to see is udder development, followed by things like the slackening off of the muscles in the hind end, the changing of the mare's belly shape, relaxing of the vulva, things like that. Behavioural changes you could expect to see. Quite often we see mares who are previously really lovely getting a little bit snarky. Vice versa, we have mares who are impossible to catch, and I know that actually when I can walk up to them in the paddock and get to catch them, that we're probably thinking about getting closer to foaling. And then things leading into the very imminent foaling period. So those last few hours, you're pacing, you're pouring, you're rolling, all those things that we associate with stage 1 labour. So that's my multi-prong approach, and ideally we'd be doing a little bit of all of those to try and give ourselves the best chance of identifying where our mare is going. That being said, there are mares that just do what they want and don't follow the rule book, but I think if you're doing all the right things and you're checking them regularly, if you're checking your mare every 1.5 to 2 hours, you go out and she's fine, and then you go out and there's a foal, chances are that if the foal's there and healthy, it didn't need you in that shorter time frame if she wasn't showing any signs beforehand. And if there are some problems, potentially at that stage, you're going to be able to interfere and give her the assistance that she needs or call the vet without it being too far progressed. So that's enough. That's slightly longer than I intended it to be. I get quite excited talking about this stuff, can you tell? So I will leave you guys to it. The PDF worksheet is down below. Some of you are having trouble opening it on your phones. If you do have trouble opening it, let me know and I can just send it to you or screenshot it to you. And another question I got was, does the homework have to actually be written on the sheets? No, it doesn't. I'm completely happy for you guys to do what you've been doing and either print it off and write it on, or write it on the computer and put the sheet on there, or just write the summary of what you've said. So you don't actually have to do it on your sheet. Text is fine. So that's it for day 3. I'll see some of you guys over in the group, hopefully. Any questions, as usual, feel free to tag me in posts or send me a message, and I will catch you guys in the group for day 3. Thanks. Bye.